Well, hello friends, and happy Monday to you. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope that you used your time yesterday in the house of the Lord to set the tone for what you're believing that God's going to do all week. I really do believe that when we give God the first fruits of everything, even if it's our week, I believe God will bless the remainder. And if you gave that to Him yesterday, and you have great expectations and great faith, I believe God will bless the remainder of your week. Welcome to a brand new week. Welcome to another edition of Take 5. Well, hey, this week we're still talking about the life of Joseph. This has just really been a good series. I've just really enjoyed teaching it and preaching it as much as I do reading it and studying it. And this week we're going to go back to some of the same scripture that we used last week, but we're looking at a different side of the message. We're going from Genesis 41, verse 46 to 52. The Bible said Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh through all the land of Egypt. During the 7 plentiful years, the earth produced abundantly. And he gathered up all the food of these 7 years which occurred in the land of Egypt, and he put the food in the cities. He put in every city the food from the fields around it. And Joseph stored up grain in great abundance, like the sand of the sea, until he ceased to measure it, for it could not be measured. Before the year of the famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph. Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, which meant God has made me forget all my hardship in all my father's house. He named the second one Ephraim, which meant God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. And we're still using that same title from last week, Forgetful and Fruitful. But this week we're talking about the fruitful part. Last week we talked about forgetting. This week we're talking about the fruitful part. Now, after all the perplexity with his brothers and with the pit and with slavery and with the people that lied on him and the people that forgot him and the prison, after all of this, Joseph finally sees fulfillment of the dream because God was with him every step of the way. And in the land that Joseph was supposed to be captive, he becomes a successful prime minister over the whole region. He marries a wife. He has 2 children there. He names them Manasseh and Ephraim. He uses their names to represent how God has blessed him. And so from all of that, we get the title Forgetful and Fruitful. But just to consider just for a minute that God blessed this man so abundantly. He made him fruitful in the land that he was supposed to be captive in. And that's something that's just kind of hard-pressed for a lot of people to understand today is how and why God would bless you in a season like that. You know, good seasons and bad seasons come and go in our lives. They're cyclic. It's going to happen. I really don't know why so many Christians that when they come to Christ, they think that things are supposed to be good all the time. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe the church's fault, maybe the way we presented Christ, maybe just an American ideology. We think everything's supposed to always be good, but if there's one thing that Christians struggle with, it is the reality of the constantly changing seasons of life that we undergo. Even though the Bible tells us that from beginning to end, life is going to bring us ups and downs. No place in the Scripture will you ever find the Bible telling us that all is supposed to be good all the time. As a matter of fact, you can read from Ecclesiastes and you can find 14 pairs of opposing seasons in the book of Ecclesiastes where Solomon is trying to paint a picture of every conceivable season and event of life, and all of them oppose one another. They're good and they're bad. They're up and they're down. They're in and they're out. They're always opposing seasons, and you can't escape it. As a matter of fact, when you look at the book of Isaiah, you'll hear the prophet there saying, "There's someone calling to me from Mount Seir." And he says, "Watchman, how much of the night is left? Watchman, how much longer will the night be?" And that's what you want to know when you're in a bad season, right? How long Well, listen to his response to them. The watchman answered and said, morning is coming, but then night will come again. Wow, that's a cycle that we don't necessarily like. And the fact is, you cannot avoid the fact that life is seasonal. And this is why we need to know that God is able and will bless His people in every season of life. That's what we need to understand. It's far-fetched for some of us to imagine how Joseph would be blessed in such a bad season that he was in, those 13 years of hardship that he endured, but God blessed him in an abundant manner. And the fact is, he lived there for 93 years in Egypt, in the land of his affliction, and God blessed him abundantly because of the way he obeyed and because of his faithfulness to God. So we got to understand that even though life is seasonal, God's able to bless us in whatever season that we're in, because His ability to bless is not limited to good seasons and good places. God can bless us anywhere. As a matter of fact, Joseph's main purpose when he went there was to teach people how to endure and serve during changing seasons. Listen to Genesis 41. The 7 years of plenty that occurred in the land of Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began. Did you see that season? Do you see that cycle? The plenty came to an end, and the famine began to come, as Joseph had said. There was famine in all the lands, but in the land of Egypt there was bread. And when the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread, and Pharaoh said to the Egyptians, go to Joseph and do what he tells you to do. That was Joseph's responsibility. That was his purpose. That's why God sent him there to teach people how to survive, how to endure, and how to serve so that they can be fruitful during the hard seasons of life. God blessed Joseph to multiply and succeed in a place where he was supposed to be a slave. And he didn't have to go out of Egypt and back to Hebron for God to bless him. God was able to bless Joseph right there in the middle of enemies and in the middle of everything that was controversial to him. God was able to bless him in the land of his affliction. Well, hey, hang out with me this week. We're going to learn some things, I believe. We're going to see how the children of Israel followed the example of Joseph and how they learned that God could bless them in the ups and the downs of life and in every place in between. Hey, I look forward to being with you tomorrow on Tuesday's edition of Take 5. Until then, God bless you. Have a great day. Hey, friend, trust the Lord wherever you are right now, even if it's bad. You know this one thing. God is able to bless you and make you fruitful, even if the circumstance is not conducive, because God knows how to bless His people regardless of where they are.